Voilà.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for the invitation. As you can read, my name is Dana Contreras. I'm lecturer in Geospatial Science at the University. This is the outline of the presentation. Actually, currently, all of us use any kind of social media platform. The oldest one, we still use Facebook, Twitter, youngest use TikTok, Snapchat, and Instagram. All of us we use YouTube, and others are subscribed to OnlyFans. Then this presentation will be interactive, so I will ask you to scan this code, or you can copy the link, but I think scanning the code is easier. You have to select an avatar or a nickname. It's working?
Should we please come now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, it's working. Yeah? So, I will, sorry. Let's see. Oh no? Because let's see. So,
Very important.
let's see.
Board researchers responded.
Okay. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube.
Where are you, yours?
Ja, Insta. We go Insta.
Everyone already respond?
Can you give back show the QR code, the flash code on the PowerPoint? The code, yes.
So, please. Yeah, but then I So, please. No, it's the same. No, it's the same. Please scan this code. With this code,
It's gone
we
to
can
another question.
answer the questions ahead. No, you already vote. Don't worry. It's done. It's for people who didn't have the time to scan it. Okay, everyone already scanned the code? Okay, everyone already vote? Yes. Okay, thank you. Let's see, let me check the result. Okay, there is someone who use none, mainly Instagram, Facebook. You know, I was expecting some TikTok fans.
Peut-être de ce côté-là.
Now, yes, the point is what happened when an earthquake or a tsunami occurred. Some of these platforms explode with a lot of images and text that they, like in June, that it was the earthquake in Afghanistan. But what those platforms and crowdsourcing platforms show us? Images of roads blocked, location of damages, solidarity messages, intense seismic information, and emergency operations ongoing. The question is this data useful? I will say yes, but then I will ask you to go back to Mentimeter and answer the next question. Some of you already answered. No.
Okay. What do you reckon?
Okay, so location of damages, yes, followed by emergency operations ongoing, roads flow, and seismic data and solidarity messages. Muy bien. It's very good, yeah. Usually, this is the location of damages is very important because also you know where the emergency operations can be needed. Roads blocked as well because the cars for emergency response need to know where they should go. Seismic data is important, solidarity messages are nice, but at the end sometimes they don't contribute so much. Then, for what is this data useful? To support the emergency response operation, to prepare the post-disaster need analysis, for earthquake reconnaissance, that is the damage assessment, to plan the recovery, and also for improve the preparedness. Preparedness is all the activities focused to respond to the emergency. Now, when is this data useful? Usually, the recovery is divided in 4 phases according to several authors. I took the name allocated by the United Nations Development Program. And please don't confuse with the emergency response or the emergency management cycle. This is the phases of the recovery. Relief or emergency is the goal is to save lives. This is the time for the search and rescue operation. The early recovery is the phase in which all the needs related to the return to the normality are addressed. And the development is the phase that areas achieve when they learn from the lessons of the earthquake and they reduce their vulnerability. For instance, doing retrofitting, doing more preparedness. In this presentation, we are going to focus on the emergency response or relief and the early recovery. And the information that we need. This framework developed by Mary contains the information that we need during the emergency, during the recovery, reconstruction, and even before, yes? And in this presentation and in this session, you see that we are focused on the information that is coming from citizens like you or me. Then, how is this data useful? Well, when there is an earthquake or any other event, there is an impact. And Twitter, Instagram, or applications such as LastQuake app developed by the European Mediterranean Hydrological Center brought a lot of text and image data from which is possible to obtain information. But what is the problem? At least the text data is considered unstructured data. Then we need to use natural language processing techniques such as sentiment analysis to extract that information. How it works? With this technique, we classify this data according to the polarity. So, in the case of an earthquake, there will be a lot of data with negative polarity because there are expressions of fear, of anxiety, report of damages, injuries, casualties. In the case of but we will have also neutral data. Neutral data is the information about the intensity or the magnitude of the earthquake, and positive data reports of a right of humanitarian help or messages of solidarity. This technique, sentiment analysis, has been used in customer review of products and places, but I use it for the assessment of the emergency response and the recovery. Why? Because I consider that the population in areas affected by earthquakes that have the right to express their satisfaction or dissatisfaction with the recovery or the emergency response that usually is needed by the government. I'm going to explain how it works with a case study. This is the case of Zagreb in 2020. There was an earthquake with a magnitude of 5.3, and it happened at 5 in the morning. One person died, 26 were injured, 2 people died later, and when the earthquake happened, then there was the time when the lockdown because of COVID started, so people affected, they didn't know if they should stay at home despite the damage, or they had to leave and be exposed to the virus and to the low temperature in that time. So we couldn't visit the area. Then we started a remote mission. I started looking at the hashtags that could be related to the earthquake, and then I select 2, and I start the information that you see. I also start follow the information from the Prime Minister of Croatia, the Mayor of Zagreb, the representative of the World Bank in that time for Croatia, and the companies of public services. And based on that, it was possible to determine a proxy location of the damages. I say proxy because any of these social media have now, the information is georeferenced because of privacy. So, to know the damage is easier in some cases because it's landmarks like the cathedral, so you know the evacuation, you know the location. So in this case, you can see the debris, and I focus on this building that is the headquarters of the Croatian Society of Fine Arts. And in this case, I look at the direction to locate the coordinates, and in this case, I contact the photographer from Reuters. And in this way, it was possible to do this map. Now, we also purchase Twitter data. Here you can see the earthquake happened on the 22nd. You can see the peak. We got this number of tweets, 33% were original. Also, from the last query, we got this number of reports. And here you can see that the damage are located in the city center. Here you can see some of the comments and pictures provided by users. You can notice that these comments give you an awareness of the situation. In the case of the Last Quake app, you can get the reports of the users and the georeferencing. When you install the application, they ask you permission to know your location. This is the intensities reported. In this case, you see that there are reports from other areas outside of the city center. And here you can see some of the comments. If you read the comments, these comments describe more the intensity and damages in buildings. So these comments are more useful for earthquake reconnaissance sometimes. Now, use CloudWords to extract the keywords. Of course, the most frequent words are the event, the site problem, the location of the earthquake, but it's followed in form that there is damage, that there are damage in the hospital of newborn babies, and that the firefighters, the Croatian government, and the support of Dinamo Zagreb are involved in the emergency response. For those who are not into football, Dinamo is a football team of Zagreb. Now, if we combine that information, you can apply rules to classify that data. Everything that contributes to the emergency response is considered positive. Those aspects that make the situation even worse is considered negative, and those that just give you information are considered good. Now we go back to Mentimeter. And it involves a competition. The idea is to classify these tweets. You have the tweet small, but please read the text. And you have 4 options. Neutral, unrelated. Okay.
Yes, it was only digital. And this is why you have not responded, because we were not understanding.
Okay, we have this next one.
No, yeah. Accumulation.
Awesome. Very good. We are improving. Now, yes, I want to explain you why there are 2 that could be positive.
Solidarity message. That's why it's positive.
And it's important that we take that into account. Why? The first sentence. No, sorry. The first sentence is negative. It has a negative polarity. But the next one indicates that there is an operation ongoing, an emergency operation ongoing to save the life of those people. The next sentence tells us that there is snow, so makes the situation bad because these people is outside. The virus, the COVID, makes the situation worse because these people are in a crowd, they can get sick. But the next sentence, is have a really positive polarity. The last one has a bit negative polarity. So if I count the number of negative statements, I will say that the tweet is negative. But if I count the words, maybe I will say that there are more words in the positive polarity. But consider that these people have to evacuate a hospital because of damages in the non-structural elements means that there is a failure. So at the end I classify it as negative. Yes? Then, how much time I have? 1 minute. Okay. I want to show you the idea is at the end you make this kind of at the end you get this kind of results. Please don't pay attention because this is ongoing. Yes? And then you can compare the polarity with the location of damaged building, that's on how much. And there is a technique that is topic analysis, in which what you try to see is the topics that are more frequently addressed by the users. This is the first list is for emergency response, the second is for recovery, and the third specifically for the recovery of Haiti. Yes? Now, you have the topics. These are the topics. I had a similar exercise that we did with the polarity, but I think there is no time for that. Well, then we have to skip it. And what I just to finish. When you use Last Quake app, it's similar. Is similar to Twitter. The difference is that it's georeferenced, you see the intensity. Here you can see that the most of the reports are around the epicenter of the earthquake. And it's here because people report intensity. You can see that the negative polarity increased when the intensity reported. Here you can see the spatial distribution of topics reported: building damage that are near to the epicenter, lifeline affected, and the effects of the tsunami. Here you can see the topics, mainly intensity, because the application is to report intensity, followed by seismic information and emergency response action. The database with different cases are already published. You can check them. Neither the name of the user nor the location is shared on those databases. These are publications. Yeah, my last recommendation is, please, when an earthquake or a tsunami strike, please, first, keep you safe. Second, report that you are safe. And third, report needs and damage. And because this platform, most of Twitter and Instagram are not your reference, please report in case you know that people is trapped or injured, including the address. And I advise you to install the Last Quake app to report intensity or to know about earthquakes that happen in the world. Earthquake Network is another application that you can install in your mobile phone, and you can report intensity, you can report that you are fine, or you can request help in case you need it. And this is another application that you can install that is trying to create a global seismic network using our mobile phones. Yes? So in that way, all of us, we can contribute. If you take pictures, try that it contains the addresses or landmarks to know where did you take it. My conclusion is all of us, we can contribute to information to support the recovery or to support the emergency response. All the users have different profiles. You see Twitter users report about general aspects of the situation, while Last Quake users report about intensity and damages and emergency response measures. The idea is that that classification that we did, this exercise, it will be done by local people, because sometimes contain local expression that we don't know. And I think the idea is combine sentiment analysis to see if the response of the recovery is successful or failed, and the topic analysis to know why, because the emergency response was not efficient, because in the recovery there was not so many schools reconstructed, things like that. And the idea is we need to be trained to provide more useful data, to provide mainly one solidarity message, but the rest more reports about blood walked or where is the medical attention needed. So these are the references for this presentation, and merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much for this very interactive presentation. So maybe we have time for 1 or 2 questions.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you for this interesting presentation. It's not a question of purpose, it's just to know if you, it's to share an experience and to know if you made the same kind of issue. We did this kind of work about using the comments users put on the App Store and Play Store platform regarding the contact tracing application. So we had more than 80,000 comments to analyze. And we use a Python code to process the same kind of analysis, sentiment analysis, right? And we met 3 main issues I'd like to share with you. The first one is that because I am a qualitative analysis, I was quite, not very confident with this kind of tool. So I asked my students to compare the way the